Okay. Now, there are two very famous parts of this parsha that we didn't really touch on, primarily because I try to give new things, and the more famous parts of the parsha I've talked about before. One is the sale of the Bechora, and the other is the stealing of the brachot, which are the two other huge topics that are left in the parsha. Let's focus on the first one, and note that things are not as clear in that story. This is a common denominator to everything we do. Things aren't quite as clear in that story as maybe we know them to be. So, as you remember that story, what happens?
Esau comes in, he's hungry, and he demands that Yaakov give him some of the food that he's making. And Yaakov says, I'll give it to you, but only if you sell me the Bechora.
Good, and what does he buy it with?
The food.
So that's how we always read it, right? He reads it, he buys it for the food, and then you're left with the question, okay, is that a fair sale? And what would you say?
Is it a fair sale? No. Is it a legal sale? I would think. Yeah.
Good, right? So that's, I think, how we learn it, and that's definitely how certain Mefarshim take it. Chazal seems to take it that way, right? That he sold his Bechor for nothing, right? But not everyone, and there's good reason to believe that. I mean, the fact that he becomes known as Edom implies that it really was bought with this red thing. But that's not actually how all the Mefarshim understood it, because some of the Mefarshim were bothered by this notion that, meaning, is it, at first glance, this is really strange, because if the Bechorah is really worth a lot, whatever it entails, then how could Yaakov utilize this unfortunate situation that Esau was in to basically undercut him and say, okay, look, right now you're desperate, I'll charge you.
So if this is a legal, actual sale, then why does he have to go through all that trickery to get the actual bracha?
Well, there's so much that has to go on to that unit, which unfortunately we won't get to. Told us one of those parashiyot. So what I want to do, again, it could be that the way we learned it is right, and there is good reason to believe that, but major Rishonim don't think that that's what this story is about at all. So for example, the Rashbam says, Machra kayom, klomar la'altar, miyad machor lechelik bechoratcha hara'ui lecha b'mamon, avi b'mamon avi b'mamon she'atein lecha. V'achar kach atein lecha machal le'idudu l'kiyum. Said the food was not the payment. The food was the post-sale sign that they made a deal. Because in general, deals were sealed with the meal. And he says, I'll pay you full money, right? However much it costs. And then, once we've sealed the deal, we'll sit down, I'll give you the soup, and that will be the...
So soup isn't the payment, it's just...
Correct, it's just the...
entices India.
It's not enticing, it's just the... It's just the...
He does
like
want
a thank you.
It's the marking that we've done this, right? That's in general, right? You sit down to a meal after a deal, and that's what it's going to be. Just like by Yaakov and Lavan, they do the same thing. When they make a deal, what do they do after they've made a covenant? Say sit and eat. That's part of... So the Rashbam is clearly bothered by this problem, probably also by the language of sell me, which sounds more like there's an actual amount of money being transferred rather than... but that's how he understands it. And that's one way of solving the problem. Another way of solving the problem is the way that the Ibn Ezra does. When he says, Ibn Ezra. One second. Okay. I mean, other options are, right, Rashi's approach is essentially that the Bechor here is something spiritual, right, and therefore there's no real problem with him paying just the soup, because it's not, right, the way the simple understanding of this is the double inheritance of the Yerusha. That's what the Bechor does. That's a lot of money. So to say that it would just be bought for soup would be very hard. Hence the Rashbam's solution that he's actually paying for it. With Rashi, the way he solves is by reinterpreting this and saying, in light of Chazal, that this Bechor is not a monetary right. It's not the double inheritance per se. What it really is the spiritual rights, and that Esav just didn't care about. Alternatively, maybe, that goes in the direction of saying this isn't really worth so much money in a real sort of monetary, quantifiable sense.
But like, how can you even like buy that though? Like, even if it's spiritual or physical, like the whole idea is that you're the firstborn. Like nothing. Like, how does that happen? It's not like you become the firstborn now. Like, you're not.
Well, you're buying rights, right? You don't per se become the firstborn. You buy rights.
So those rights come with like something natural that's out of your control. Meaning, the person was born with those rights. It's not like they acquired them and now you can buy them from them. Those rights came with them because you were born first. So how do you?
I mean, apparently you can. I mean, apparently the assumption here seems to be that you can buy the rights. Though to be fair, it is a bit ambiguous because
it's weird. And then later on, even after this, he still gets angry at him for doing it. So it
correct,
seems
which
like
does indicate that
it shows that can't actually happen.
Right. So the second story is clearly part of the fully understanding this story is how effective was the sale, or how much did really Esav realize what was going on, and all those questions. You really have to answer in light of that second story. Some version really say, like, okay, maybe it wasn't worth. Maybe he didn't pay him as much as it was worth, but that's life, right? You have the right to what's it called? To work in your own interest, and if someone else is going to be stupid, and someone else is going to be right, it wasn't like he was lying. He told him straight up what he was offering him. There's no deception involved. Certain versions say no, it was worth a lot of money. He paid him very little. It was all done clear-eyed. Everyone knew what was going on, and that's the problem. Right? That was Esav's problem, but Yaakov was allowed to do that.
I know the Torah obviously didn't exist
says things like that
at that time, but don't we still have a concept even nowadays, even if there's no deception and you charge someone?
Nope. Wrong. Mistake. Wrong. Mistake.
They have time to
mistake.
Go back.
No. And overcharging in halacha is classically deceptive. Right? If you say to someone, look, I know what this theoretically might be worth, but to me it's worth $1 million, and therefore I'm going to sell it to you for $1 million, even though other people might sell it for $5. And he says, sure, then I'll buy it for $1 million. That's not called overcharging in halacha. It's not. Right? People make this mistake. They don't understand the halacha. They think, the halacha says you can't overcharge by a sixth. That's true. But overcharging does not mean you're allowed to say, this is my heirloom, it's objectively worth $5, and to me it's worth $1 million, and if you want it from me, you pay me $1 million, and the guy can say yes or no, and that is not onah in halacha. And onah in halacha is, it's worth $5, and I sell it to him for $6.50. Right? That is more onah than it's worth $5 and I sell it for $1 million, but with but everything is above board. So you could just take that type of approach here with in this story, which is it was worth a lot, but Esav knew what he was doing, Yaakov knew what he was doing. You're allowed to advocate for yourself, and that's what it is. So again, it may be that the way we learned it is right. That this is just Esav being stupid, and Yaakov is getting the advantage because Esav is just too hasty. But there are other possibilities here, right? It's not completely clear, and the gap between the ostensible value of the Bechora and the amount that Yaakov seemed to have paid is what led to those different directions of the first. And either, in fact, he paid him for it, or maybe this is spiritual and therefore it's subjective in terms of how much it's worth. But that's really, I want you at least to understand that's the tension the Mefarshim are responding to in the story. The different directions they take, you can see where all of them come from. But that's at least the thing to notice in the story.